All right, Patriots postgame show. Greg Bedard down on the field. Thank you all for waiting patiently for us to start the show. Greg was in there listening to Mike Vrabel explain what the hell happened here in this Patriots 21-14 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where they turned the ball over 5 times, Greg. 5 times, and they still could have won the game. Still could have won it, which is amazing. Before we get started, I want to let you all know this show, as always, is brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy on Prize Picks today. Insert your lineups. Use the code CLNS. Get 50 when you play 5. Once again, code CLNS 50 when you play 5. Prize Picks, run your game. Also brought to you by Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Sign up today. Oh, Bailey's frozen. Sign up today. Get 25 off when you sign off using the code CLNS here on Game Time. There it is, $20 off on your first purchase. Terms to apply. Let's get into it, Greg. I don't know when you start with Rhamondre. You want to start with Drake? You want to start with coaching? I don't know what it is. I mean, it's a bizarre game because it almost seemed unfathomable that they could shoot themselves in the foot as much as they did today. So we'll just start right off. You're slicing up the blame pie right now. Where are you placing the biggest slice?
That's a good question. I mean, look, we're 3 games into this, the Mike Vrabel era, and as to this point, it's a team that takes a lot of penalties. It's a team that makes a lot of dumb mistakes. So, I mean, I guess I got to start with Mike Vrabel. I mean, he's not out there fumbling the ball like they did 4 times today or throwing interceptions, but you know, it's his program. And, you know, I looked at today as almost like sort of 3 segments. Like the opening segment, it started with the coin toss. The Steelers lost the coin toss. The Patriots had a chance to defer. They didn't. They took the ball. They were terrible on offense. They get the Stevenson fumble. They were terrible on defense. They weren't ready to go again. After that, the Patriots pretty much dominated the game for about 2 quarters. Offensively, they were going up and down the field. Defensively, they were getting stops. They had 4 3-and-outs, another one with 5 plays at one point. And then at the end, the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers made a few more plays. The Patriots, Demario Douglas catches the ball at the sticks, 4th and 1. He goes backwards. They turn the ball over. So just a brutal stretch of football for the Patriots. And this is a game, much like the Raiders game in week 1, that they just gave away to a team that's really not that good. I mean, this Steelers team stinks. They're not good at all. And the Patriots lose another home game. They keep losing at home. So, I mean, I guess I got to start at the top, with Mike Vrabel and then sort of go from there.
So that's what's frustrating to me, Greg. And I tend to agree with you because when we take a step back and look at it, the conclusion's going to be, Drake Maye's got to do a better job there. I think he's trying to do a lot with a little around him and probably trying to do too much. Certainly on that last fumble, there's just no reason to hold on to the ball as long as he did. And the interception, you just got to put a little air under that, and that's there. But the conclusion's going to be Drake Maye can play football. Patriots have a quarterback. You feel good about Drake Maye and his future. Mm-hmm. If you're going to win games, he can't do stupid shit like that, but he's still good at football. Yeah. That's the #1 takeaway. You're going to feel okay about it. Rhamondre Stevenson, I don't understand why he's touching the ball again after the first fumble, and it is what it is. But the Vrabel, that's the one thing you can put your finger on and say, it's supposed to be different. If you're going to make fun of Gerard Mayo for his North Star comments, Mike Vrabel's kind of turning himself into that with this running down the sideline, I tackle people and I get on the ground in scrums. That stuff is great. It looks great. It's great on social media. But when you go on the field and your team pukes all over itself with undisciplined penalties, terrible ball management, I don't know where else you go from there. I mean, you got to look at it and be like, this is your show, buddy. What are you guys doing out there?
Yeah, I thought Mike, I don't know when he said it, a week or 2 ago, he set a bad tone when he talked about penalties. Like, he really didn't care. He's like, they're whatever. Not that indicative of winning. Like, I think you'd want those Alex Austin penalties back. Now, I thought the Carlton Davis one at the end was a little egregious. Yeah. No chance at that ball. So that's a bit of a rough break. But he sort of sets the tone. Talking about Drake, I agree with you. I think Drake's playing a lot better. He looks a lot more comfortable. He's doing a lot of really good things. But I do think that this is very similar to Josh Allen early on in his Bills career. It's like, you just gotta take this with this kid. At some point, he's going to learn to get past it. It could be rough, for a while for him to get by it. But I did think what was interesting in the postgame with Vrabel sounds pretty fed up with it. He had some, he sort of, really went after Drake in the postgame press conference. Not that he wasn't wrong to, with some of the decisions that he made. But it's just interesting that 3 games into this, you see Vrabel, like, he sort of like lashes out. And you think that he would be a little bit more composed. Hey, we're growing, we're going to have some growing pains and all that. But he just he needs somebody to blame after these things. And I think it's unfortunate because I think, the undisciplined stuff, the penalties is probably most disturbing to me. The Drake stuff, you're just going to have to deal with.
Right.
He'll play himself out of it. The game will slow down for him like it did Josh Allen. But, you don't have to, hyperventilate after 3 games that, your quarterback who's only started, 14, 15 games in this league is making some crucial mistakes. It's going to happen. I mean, at least he did point out the good stuff, which was good. But, it just surprised me so far.
Yeah, it's exactly. You're looking at like the symptoms of what's going on with the team. The Drake Maye, as you said, you have to roll with that. You have a guy who's essentially a rookie in terms of the amount of football that he's played in the NFL, and also, who didn't have a ton of experience in college, and that was the whole thing. You're living with this. Isn't a win now team, which is you can really pinpoint why it is that you lost this game and why it was so important that Drake Maye do the things he did. Like, that's fine and good, but that's not what we're judging Drake Maye on the whole. It's as you said, there's going to be lumps, and it might be 2, 3, 4 years before he kind of rids himself of all of that. Great quarterbacks make bad mistakes throughout games. 7, 8, 9, 10 years into their career. I do think the Drake Maye criticism has almost gone too far, where people are expecting perfection or 0 mistakes, which is what he delivered last week. And if he goes back to this stuff, and again, they're critical, they're disastrous mistakes. Goal line INTs absolutely murder you. You're driving to take the lead at or around midfield, just take the sack or throw the ball away. Those are obvious, but those are so correctable. You'd feel a lot worse about Drake Maye right now, Greg, if he was inaccurate, if he's missing open receivers, if he's just throwing and he doesn't see the coverage, or he doesn't see, the safety creeping and this and that, and just throwing it right at. He's not doing that. He's making great throws with great touch, extending plays, good feel. He's missing some guys, as well. It's not perfect, but it's far from the problem. As far as the Rhamondre stuff goes, I don't know what you do next here. I mean, you've got veteran running backs putting the ball on the ground over and over again. We're going to listen to Vrabel here. Vrabel talking about Rhamondre Stevenson and what they do, because he fumbles, and then he goes back in and then fumbles in a worse situation, which is at the goal line when you needed the points there. And then Gibson fumbles. I don't know what that leaves you with, but here's Vrabel talking about their kind of conundrum right now with what they do at the running back position.
It's like you sit there and we're so excited about him, and everybody's excited about him. The fans are, and we know what his capabilities are. We got to get him back. We need him. We absolutely need him. You see what he was able to do for us last week, his ability to make some plays. And, again, we'll just have to look at the technique. We'll have to look at the ball security. But we're going to need him. And we need his ability, but we also need to take care of the football. So
I don't know that fans are that excited about Rhamondre Stevenson in general. They just don't want him to put the friggin' ball on the ground. It's that simple. Yeah. I don't understand it. This was a guy, this wasn't his bag. This wasn't his MO. What happened to this guy over the course of the last 17, 18 games where this has become what defines him professionally?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I'm sure Rhamondre is in there right now answering a lot of questions about this, or not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I you could have chalked it up to, maybe it was the change in coaching, Gerard Mayo coming in, that coaching staff. Maybe there was some sort of attitude that sort of changed for Rhamondre. it doesn't seem like there's any consistency on like when he fumbles. I mean, I do think it's sometimes maybe he lacks focus as he's going to the ground. It seems to be more of those than, just dropping them. But there's no question he's got to be better. I mean, I agree with Mike that they're going to need him. It's not like I don't think you're going to cut him during the season and bring somebody else in. You basically ride him for this year, see what happens, try to improve, try to coach it up. And then at the end of the season, you make a decision.
Yeah. But you could survive with Gibson, which I think what they wanted to do. The problem is at this moment in time, everyone's clamoring for it, but you can't survive with TreVeyon Henderson, I don't think, as your number one back. One, he's still nowhere near where he's supposed to be in pass protection, and that's going to keep him off the field. He's just not that guy who you're going to be able to hand the ball to 20 times and pound it between the tackles. I mean, he tried at the end there where they really wouldn't let Rhamondre touch the ball again. Just not able to generate much there.
He averaged 2.5 yards per carry. The concern with him is the beating. Like he's just not going to be able to take it. And I know fans want him and they think it's going to be great and it's going to be like a video game if they put TreVeyon Henderson out there. But that's just not the reality of playing, 17 games in 18 weeks in the NFL against, especially a physical front like the Steelers have. I mean, those guys get after it. I mean, they're not that great, but when they, up front, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Herbig, Patrick Queen, when he gets through, those guys are physical, and that takes a beating. And what we know about TreVeyon Henderson is from his days at Ohio State, he cannot take that beating. So people really need to stop clamoring for TreVeyon Henderson because it's not going to happen. He's not going to last the season if they do that. What you want to do is you want to use them selectively, and really it's Rhamondre's fault for putting the ball on the ground. Gibson's doing what he should be doing. But if you think the answer is more TreVeyon Henderson, I don't wish that on you because that's not going to be a good move. All you need is, all of a sudden he's out for the season with a shoulder injury. And now what have you got?
Yeah. And honestly, this is a byproduct mainly of people just getting the majority of their information from the fantasy community, which is everybody wanted TreVeyon Henderson to smash because he's got game-breaking talent and big playability and all of that stuff. It's not going to work. You might be able to scheme him up to 10, 12, 15 touches a game, but he's not going to be your bell cow. It's got to be one of these other guys. The question is there a big enough of a drop-off between Rhamondre and Gibson where if you wanted to pull the switcheroo and go with Gibson as your lead back, how much are you losing there?
Well, you're losing a decent amount. I mean, what's going to happen is what we could see is Rhamondre is inactive for next week. That means you're going to have to sign somebody. I mean, I think they have Terrell Jennings on the practice squad. That's nobody's solution. I mean, I guess you could promote him for the game, but he's also another smaller sort of, scat back. So you're really looking for two physical backs to take that load, sort of switch off. And then really what you're hoping TreVeyon Henderson evolves into is a guy that you can line up all over the field and get mismatches, especially a wide receiver. That's not something we've really seen yet. That's something that would evolve over the season. But the more time he's got to spend as sort of a lead back, which I don't think they're going to do. I don't think they want to do it at all. So I don't think it's really a consideration. But they're going to have to figure something out because right now it's not working with Stevenson.
No, it's not. Other thing you want to talk about is, again, we talked about Drake Maye and what he's able to do with the limited weapons that he has around him. Obviously, Hunter Henry's his safety valve, and Henry was big for him again today. Drake made some big-time throws to him, to Hooper, where he had a couple completions there on consecutive plays. And he's utilizing those guys. You get Booty every once in a while involved. Diggs, again, not able to really generate much of anything, no matter where you put him on the field or how much he plays. Then there's this mysterious Pop Douglas thing where I've never seen two people seem to be less on the same page, and I can't tell what's going on here. You had the one incompletion where May had that string of 13 straight completions, and then he misses Douglas for his first incompletion. I'm not sure if Douglas is supposed to sit down there or what. He sails another throw to him earlier in the game. They did get a couple things going. Then you get that last play, Greg. It's easier said than done, when you're watching it on the field where Douglas seemingly all he has to do is catch the ball and fall backwards, and he gets the first down. He tries to be a hero, reverse the field, goes backwards, and he takes them out of position, and they lose. Drake Maye tried to put that one on him. Here's Drake after the game.
I wish I would have told those guys, 4th and 1, just try to, catch it and get upfield. I wish I would have told them that in the huddle. Those little things go a long way. But, yeah, nothing Pop did wrong. Just he was trying to make a play. I wish I would, expecting some type of blitz look. I think they played some blitz trap deal. But, I think, shoot, that's this league. You got the ball to, tied up, and I costed us, and then we got the ball, go down to tie it, to send it, to overtime, and that's the NFL. So it's
admirable, I guess, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that that Demario Douglas play I put on him. If that is Steph Diggs, is that Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, how many tough receivers have we seen here where they know the game awareness, that they understand where they are in the field, what they have to do. And, if that's Steph Diggs, I'm pretty sure he just catches it and shoots forward and picks it up. Demario Douglas didn't do that. I wonder if we could see a situation where Douglas is either down or reduced role, and we do see Efton Chisholm for a while. Not that I think he's any sort of solution, but, I could make the argument that if Efton Chisholm is there, he's built a little bit lower to the ground, a little bit heavier, he makes that play. But I put that on Douglas. I mean, I would like to see Maye get rid of the ball a tad bit quicker, with his motion, but Douglas – has to know where he is on the field, has to know the situation. He shouldn't need Drake Maye to tell him what the situation is. And they just had a timeout. They're standing there. You can look at the scoreboard. No, if I catch the ball, I am leaping forward. I'm not going backwards, and I am picking it up.
And again, it's all, you can't put, the players have to know some of this stuff naturally. Drake Maye is saying, I should have told him. It's lack of situational awareness and football preparedness, which goes back to the thing that you said at the top of the show about Mike Vrabel and the type of football this team is playing. And again, if things don't go well for Mike Vrabel, that whole take advantage of bad football quote that he gave at the beginning of his tenure here is the thing that everyone's going to look at. They're just playing overall bad football right now, which if you didn't know better, I don't know that you would know at times that there's a completely new regime in charge of things versus what we saw last year.
Yeah, like I said at the top, that's the thing that has surprised me the most. I thought, maybe they're not the most talented team, but they wouldn't beat themselves. They'd make the other team have to beat them. Yeah, and that's just through 3 games. That's not the way it is. A couple other things, John, I wanted to mention. I did think that they made some good adjustments as far as the run game. They were getting gashed early on. It looks like they went to more 5-man line. They probably, I'll have to look back, or probably Taylor, who's coming up next, probably kept track of this or whatever. But it looked like they dropped, an extra guy into the box. They played Duggar a lot more. They changed out. They took Christian Ellis out for Gibbons and Mapu. They benched Alex Austin for whatever that guy's name, Charles Day, whatever his name is. And also, something that is going to be interesting watching the film, I did not like their plan for TJ Watt in this game. There was too much Morgan Moses by himself. I did not think the offensive line was that good in this game. I just looked at PFF's initial numbers. They had Will Campbell for 7 pressures allowed in this game. It looked like he had a very rough game. Jared Wilson had some rough ones. Michael Wenu whiffed on another run block, up the middle. There's a lot of stuff to clean up. I'm surprised. I mean, it is 3 games in. I usually go by 4 games and then 8 games, but a lot of work to do for this team to clean up.
Yeah, you do have to give hats off to the defense, though. On the whole, especially after last week, because they were atrocious last week, and certainly we're gonna beat him up last week. You got to give him his props today. Spillane had a good bounce back game.
He was awesome, by the way. We need to mention that he had 15 tackles, 10 solo, and the interception that Rodgers threw right to him. I mean, it was a huge bounce back game for Spillane.
Yeah. So that was good. Landry, might be one of the great reclamation project and turnaround stories of the offseason here. So again, credit where it's due. A couple of the guys that they have brought in, especially with Spillane playing well today, great. Milton Williams, obviously, we've seen what he's been doing. So some things that would lead you to believe that it's not, that all is not lost. But again, I just think you're going to be one step forward, one step back with this team all year long until they can start to play cleaner football. They're just not good enough to do what they did today.
John, they need to stop playing like jackasses. All right. They do that, they might start winning some games. All right. Let's call it what it is. Like, they played like jackasses way too often. And you did not think that was going to be the case this year.
No, and this is about as frustrating a watch as it could possibly get. Again, Greg Bedard here joining us on the Patriots postgame show. Greg, thank you. We're going to say goodbye to Greg, and we're going to bring on Taylor and Mike in a second. Of course, for Greg, you want more of his stuff, check it out over at Boston Sports Journal. Subscribe. What do we got? Is it $7 a month or $50
$7
for the year?
a month, 50 for the year. Yep.
Come on,
Come over
guys.
and join us.
Do it now. Join up, sign up for Boston Sports Journal. Best sports coverage in town, but certainly, without question, objectively, the best football coverage in town. Greg Bedard, Mike Giardi covering the beat. You want to check that out. And, of course, you want to listen to the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast right here on CLNS Media Network. They're going to have their breakdown once Greg looks at some of the film later on this week. Greg, thanks a lot for joining us. We are going to take a quick pause. We want to tell you about, of course, one of our sponsors here at the Patriots postgame show, and there it is on the screen. You see it. Prize Picks, number one daily fantasy sports app, all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Win up to 100 times your cash with Prize Picks. There it is right there. Play 5, get 50 instantly using that code CLNS. Once again, play 5, get 50 instantly when you use the code CLNS when you sign up today. And again, great stuff. You get free squares every week heading into the games, which is something that's awesome. That's just makes your lineup that much more likely to hit. Great promotions throughout the week. However you want to play it, that's fine. A lot of people like to just head into football Sunday, focus on one game, focus on the earlies, play again on the lates. That's what I like to do. I like to go into the 1 o'clocks, then I like to go at the 4 o'clocks and see what happens there. Ton of fun. Again, as we said, super easy. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy with Prize Picks today. We're waiting for Mike and Taylor to set up here. And Bailey, you can bring us back full here. And again, sorry we haven't gotten to a lot of your comments, but we will. We wanted to get Greg's take in before he had to boogie. If you want to leave any super chats as well, those proceeds go to the hosts. We'll put up your comment. We will talk about it. We will do all that good stuff. And again, Mike and Taylor, give me a thumbs up when you guys are ready to go, and we'll head back out there to the field. Once again, Patriots lose an excruciating game, 21-14 to the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. They just can't win at home. They just don't. They don't do it. They don't do it. 1-2 on the season. They're home again next week, so hopefully they'll have a good shot. We're going to bring in our guys. These guys. Who do I like the best? I like these guys, but I like them to
these
be
guys.
These guys.
What's
over
up, John?
Here. SI's Mike Kadlick, CLNS Media's Taylor Kyles. These guys are jacked and pumped. They were in the locker room taking in some of the stuff. And guys, I don't know, you can start with some of the reaction from the locker room or from the people in there. What's the general vibe here? Because again, this is a tough team to cover in the sense that we have to know that some things are going to take time. We have to expect that there's going to be growing pains, but there's also certain baseline expectations you have for them. And the point of bringing a guy, and we spent a lot of time with Greg on this, a guy like Mike Vrabel in here was so they wouldn't play, as Greg said, which I'm sure you heard, like jackasses.
And laughed at. That was good.
Like they're playing like you can't commit them as many penalties as they do and turn the ball over 5 times in any league and expect to win games. So again, I want your reaction to just how sloppy it's been, and if that's surprising to you, and also just, you know, what everybody's saying about this type of performance there in the locker room, because we don't expect them to win it all, but you don't expect them to lose like this.
Yeah, on the defensive side, I think they understand that for the most part, they played a pretty solid game. Obviously, did not start that way, but we've seen them be able to adjust after some rough starts. The penalties, there was only one penalty in the second half, so at least that area got cleaned up, and there were some things that, once we kind of wake up tomorrow, have more level heads that we can point to and say, yeah, that was positive. But it was kind of honestly weird in the locker room because it's like, how much do you even really need to ask?
Right.
It's like, well, you turned the ball over a ton. The defense pretty much did its job until you just forced them to keep going back on the field. And ultimately there was the backbreaker where Marcus Jones kind of got smoked off the line of scrimmage. So, I mean, the vibe, it didn't seem like guys were terribly low for the most part. Like we spoke to Morgan Moses, the veteran leader of this team and of the offensive line. He was like, yeah, no, these are a lot of correctable mistakes and we've got to make them. Had words of encouragement for Rhamondre Stevenson. Apparently afterwards, he went over and spoke to him and was like, hey, man, you're our back. Greg said it. I mean, they can't go away from Rhamondre Stevenson. That's not an option. We saw him get another chance and then put the ball on the ground again. Mike Vrabel echoed the same message of, hey, like, we're going to need him. So we got to get it fixed. But I know people ask us, like, how does Rhamondre fix the fumbling issues? I have no idea.
Hold on to the damn ball. It's one of those things, this whole game, there's not many layers to it. It was just a bad performance that in a game that they still could have won because Pittsburgh wasn't great either. We talked about it in the press box. Steelers only had 1 yard in the third quarter. The Patriots could not get out of their own way. There's not much to ask. There's not much to say. There was kind of a somber feeling in the locker room because they knew they let that game get away with the 5 turnovers. Drake Maye turns it over twice, can't happen. Rhamondre turns it over twice, can't happen. Antonio Gibson adds to it, adds fuel to the fire. And the tackling was finally good. They got back on defense a little bit here, but they gave that game away. They only lose by 7. If you think about the interception Drake threw at the goal line, where he put way too much mustard on it, didn't air it out a couple plays after what looked like he hurt his head. And then the Rhamondre Stevenson fumble on the 1 yard line, that's 28 points. You win the game by a touchdown, easy going. So they gave this one away. They know it. And like I said, there's not much layers to it. You can't really explain away the Stevenson thing besides just hold on to the ball. So you either fix it or you pay for it. It's going to be hard for them to, get rid of him this year and make a decision this quickly. But it's unfortunate because it was a game that, as you saw, this team clearly could have won this game against Pittsburgh today.
And Drake Maye, if anybody, was probably the most upset seeming because, like, even at the podium, it just felt like he was taking a lot of the blame for what happened. Even said with the Demario Douglas play where Pop ends up going backwards when Mike Vrabel said he probably should have just knifed or tried to go and get the first down. Pass was behind him, of course, but still not really an excuse. But Drake said, hey, I should have gone in the huddle and reminded guys, this is 4th and 1. We got to get forward momentum. So I think Drake took it pretty hard, but it felt like for the most part, like this team understands they should have won that game. They were moving the ball, as Morgan Moses pointed out. Like, it's not like they were just running into brick walls. They just couldn't get out of their own way.
Yeah, and again, this is kind of part of their problem is you try to distill it to what's the reason? Why is this stuff happening? I think a lot of it has to simply do with the fact that they don't have any game-breaking talent, so they can't get chunk plays, they can't get big plays, they can't get 5-play drives down the field. So everything is 13, 14, 15, 17. It's harder to play perfect that way. Old Patriots defenses used to employ this bend but don't break mentality, which is go ahead. No way you're going to get 15 plays down the field on us without committing a key holding penalty that's going to put you into a 3rd and long or turn it over or mess something up. Go ahead. String together 50. I'm going to give you all of this stuff underneath. Go ahead. 5 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards to take it. If you can get all the way down the field on us and score 7, hats off. Patriots have to be near perfect because they just don't have man beaters. They don't have guys who can kind of get down the field and get open. Henderson really is still bottled up in terms of the way he's being used, and he plays. It's hard, right? Like Drake has to be perfect on every play.
And the frustrating thing is, even like last week, they were scheming some things open. Like one of the most frustrating things is each time Drake was sacked, you could see the intention of the play, and you're like, oh, wait, that was actually going to be an explosive. Then the pass protection breaks down. And I know Greg mentioned the Will Campbell pressure numbers early. That holds up because when I was watching live, I'm like, Herbig is really giving him some trouble. There was the loop where Cameron Hayward comes around unblocked. That led to one of the Drake Maye's early sacks. So I need to look at the film to really know for a fact whether or not there were some more plays downfield to be made. But you're right. Like when you have players with the ball in their hands, you're hoping at least like Demario Douglas is that guy who gets you the yards after catch. But then he's not really getting many opportunities. When he does, it feels like he's constantly not taking advantage of them. So yeah, it does feel like Drake has to be perfect. And it's a lot to put on your young quarterback. I think that they have the tools to be better, to be more explosive. It's just these early season hiccups where, again, they just keep shooting themselves in the foot. Because this doesn't feel like last year where it's like, I don't even, like, this offense is just not confident.
Right.
Like, it's hard. It's genuinely hard to watch. This offense isn't that. They just need to tighten a whole bunch of screws and just stop with the penalties, stop with the turnovers, because that is what's putting them in these really bad situations.
And you mentioned Pop Douglas there, Taylor. Him and Drake Maye need to get on the same page, or he needs to get off the field, right? Like it's not there. They don't have it. The fourth down was the obvious one. Two plays earlier on that drive, he's bare ass across the middle of formation. Drake throws it behind him. Pop doesn't stop. Couldn't tell whose fault that really was because there was nobody in the area and they still miscommunicated.
Yeah, was he supposed to sit there?
I don't know because there was
Maybe.
no one. It looked like Drake was putting it where he thought he was going to sit, catch it, and go. Pop kept running through the formation because there was nobody around him. That's one of those ones where that's just time on task, like our guy Julian Edelman talks about all the time, where you need to get together, you need to practice those types of plays and make things happen so you know exactly what you're going to do on a given play. And no matter what, him and Pop have not been on the same page over the last 2 years. It's been very unfortunate because Pop's someone who we thought could be a pretty good player. He looked like he was understanding this offense throughout the summer. Him and Drake looked to be on the same page early on, but over these first 3 games, it just hasn't happened. So it should have got off the pot. Should have got off the pop time.
And think about there was the interception too, where
Yeah,
Drake ended up just throwing right to a defender. Where I don't know if it's like DeMario's depth wasn't right. I don't know what it is, but it feels like every time he throws to Pop in live game situations, something funky happens, and it's getting to the point where like I don't really care whose fault it is.
Right.
One of these guys is going to be around for a long time, and I keep saying it every week. Like, I like Demario Douglas. I think he's talented. I do not think this is a good fit for him. I think at some point we're going to start seeing Efton Chisholm.
Yeah.
One, for the fact that like he can be more consistent after the catch. I think he's got that physicality. But he's also bigger. He's 2 inches taller. I don't know if he's got longer arms necessarily, but you can see his catch radius is more impressive than what you get from Demario Douglas. So something has to be done. And it feels like there's something going on behind the scenes too, because they are very much leaning into 12 personnel, leaning into 2-back looks.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at the numbers, but they're getting away from 11 personnel. And even when they are, a lot of the times you're seeing Stephon Diggs as a slot receiver on some of those routes where like Stephon settles into zones. He's getting a lot of those opportunities, and it's not Pop. And at some point you have to say, okay, there's a reason for this. Last year, they were like, oh, we're not getting Pop enough opportunities. And you saw, even when they were in their run looks, they still tried to get him involved. But now we're going backwards, and I feel like the breadcrumbs are there, and just something's got to give.
And there was the would-be interception here, too, where it ended up being a drop, but Drake skied Pop, and he can't find him. It's the height thing. So you said it a couple weeks ago.
Not everybody.
It's just not there.
Not every quarterback can throw to short people. That's not a joke.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's not. And I do wonder, are they running a lot of 12s? Because it's like, well, he can throw it up and they can go get those guys. That's just kind of more what Drake does. There's something off there, but you do see how many of those times where it feels like either Drake expected Pop to be somewhere and he was somewhere else, and you don't always know who that's on. That just seems to happen a lot, in addition to some of the overthrows and some of the other stuff's going on. And again, I think we fell in love with Pop because there was nothing else doing when he was the only one who showed any sort of explosiveness or any sort of anything on a team with a bunch of anemic receivers. And right now he's just not able to get it done and not able to separate himself and be that weapon, because there's just not a lot of guys right now who can do anything with the ball in their hands. That's what Pop is supposed to be able to do, and he's not doing it for you, and that definitely hurts. I'll ask you guys from a coaching standpoint, what do you do in the situation where you do have Rhamondre Stevenson fumble as he did, and then Vrabel gives him the ball again? I don't love dog houses, as I don't know that they serve a purpose. I think you get to a point where it's no longer punishment. I simply just can't trust you. Yeah. But I don't like just you're in trouble and you're going to learn by sitting on the bench. I don't think that people learn that way. But you put him in, man, and he fumbles again on that goal line. You start to wonder, like, maybe he shouldn't have done that. But then you hand the ball to Gibson in the next year, and he does the same exact thing.
And that would happen last year, too.
I don't know
like,
where
it
you go.
slides under the radar, but like there were some other games last year where Rhamondre would fumble, and then they'd give Antonio the ball. He didn't lose a lot of those fumbles, but he would do the same thing. So it's like, well, then what do you do? Because Rhamondre has to play. He is their best pass protector. You saw him. He was still a part of it on third down. Right. And it's tough because on third downs, like you prepare an entire day. So you can't just kind of swap them in because there's an entire game plan element of that. But like we know Rhamondre is valuable there. But then on early downs, like I agree with Greg. I've been saying it. TreVeyon cannot be your every down back. I'm sorry. He's just not built to be that kind of guy. Even when you see him like getting tackled, he's a smaller guy. He delivers some punishment. And there's some pop there. It's not going to look like that if you keep handing him the ball consistently for 17 games. So that's the first part. Then Antonio Gibson, how much can you trust him? He's awesome with the ball in his hands. I literally tweeted right before the fumble, man, every time Antonio Gibson gets a handoff, something good happens, and then fumble. I took responsibility. I'm so sorry, Pat's Twitter. But I mean, it's just I don't know.
Yes, you did. I saw that.
Gets opportunities. Yeah, I took my medicine, but it's just a bizarre situation because your two guys that you'd like to be the early down guys, more of a rotational role, have ball security issues. They have to fix it. It's really as simple as that. But if it happens in another game, you can take that because I don't even know what you do if this happens again next week.
Yeah, I'm with you on the doghouse, John. Like, don't bench him just to make him sit here and have the 60,000 people look at him and be like, you stink. You're out. You're not on the field because you didn't do it. Like, there has to be an element where, oh, this is because we physically can't trust you to help our offense, right? So in the middle of a game, I get putting him down and shelving him because, oh, this might end up being contagious for himself and he might go out there and fumble again, which he did tonight. But I look at it too like the kicker situation last week where I asked Vrabel this on Monday where he went through so many kickers in Tennessee and they just cut bait and didn't give the guy a second chance to sort of redeem himself. I think Stevenson's in a different position than that because he's had the ability to redeem himself fumbling the football and hasn't got it done. So they are in a sticky situation because this is one where if you had, I guess the running back room is already pretty deep, but you can't just cut bait with Rhamondre Stevenson and rely on Antonio Gibson and TreVeyon Henderson as your two running backs. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, you have to keep giving him the chance. You got to give him the ball and kind of hope he works it out of himself because he did over the first 2 weeks. He was fine. He fumbled in the preseason, I think, at one point, but in the first two regular season games, he was fine. He had a great week last week, so it's going to be up and down with him. I don't know how you handle it, but I think ultimately it's kind of surprising as a whole. You thought, like you mentioned, this coaching staff was supposed to come in here and tie these knots and cross the T's and dot the I's and tighten the loose screws.
Them.
They haven't done that so far at all, at least today. So it's unfortunate.
That's what gets me the most. And again, I made Greg, normally I save blame pie for the end of these types of shows. I started with it. I said, Greg, you could look at Drake, you can look at Rhamondre, and you can look at the coaching, who's getting the biggest slice. And he went with the coaching because again, this was supposed to be at the very least, this team that still has a talent deficit over the better teams in the NFL being able to take itself to another level was supposed to just iron that stuff out and play professional football. And just, you look at this schedule. I mean, you're playing seven of the worst 10 teams in football 9 times. It is such a manageable. Plus, that's not even counting Pittsburgh, which is not a great football team, which you absolutely could. There are so many winnable games on this slate that if you just don't puke all over yourself, you win them. It doesn't mean you don't need to head into the offseason and keep working on patching up that offensive line and find some playmakers on offense, more impact players on defense. You need more. You need a lot more. But you should, if you play clean football, get there. How much do you blame the coach versus the players? I tend to be a blame the players first guy. I'm just shocked that it's as sloppy as it is right now because I thought that's the type of stuff that doesn't happen under Vrabel.
It's tough because these are things that we know that they're preaching and they're pretty obvious. I think like the ball security and like just not shooting yourself in the foot. They've talked about it. They tell us. I guess you got to kind of blame the players because these are two guys with the fumble specifically that we know this has been an issue. Drake is going to make his mistakes, like the play where he tried to flip it to TreVeyon Henderson and wound up getting strip sacked. Like those things with Drake, he's got to learn. You hope he doesn't have a lot of repeat issues like that, but that kind of is what it is. I think you do blame the players, though.
I think so too. It's hard to blame. Like the segment before here, I just said that the coaches were supposed to come in and tighten these screws, but The players are the ones that fumbled the football.
Right.
Like, I'm sure they're preaching, hold on to the damn ball, especially with a guy like Stevenson, who we've asked Vrabel about several times so far this season about his fumbling issues. He said earlier in the offseason, that's behind him. We're going to move forward. We're going to preach ball security. You need to hold on to the ball, etc. But then Drake goes out there and makes the boneheaded interception, and then he makes the other one on the thing, on the fumble as well. So it's like the players are the ones that fumble the football. And Gibson fumbles the drive after Rhamondre does. That's also a player thing because clearly those guys come off the field, and I would think and I would hope that the coaches have them in the huddle and say, we need to hold on to the damn football. Make sure you hold on to the damn football.
You should need to be reminded.
Yeah,
It's
right. It's
ball security is job security.
It's kind of like the pop thing with Drake Maye too, right? Where I understand Drake's trying to take blame where, oh, I should have told everybody in the huddle. We got to get to the sticks. We have to get upfield. It's fourth down. You got to know that as a football player. You have
for 3 years.
You have to know the situation. You have to get to the sticks. It's fourth and short. It's on the Jumbotron in front of you. Like, get to the first down.
At times, the Jumbotron broke a few times.
Yeah,
that was wild.
fair.
That big-ass screen going black was a wild scene.
But it's like, again, you are a professional football player. You do need to ultimately get the job done. You can only be taught and taught so much from a coaching standpoint. And Mike Vrabel and this veteran staff, I would hope, have those guys have that ingrained in their head. So I think you do have to blame the players at this point too.
Yeah.
And also, we know they've tried to address it, like TreVeyon Henderson, his whole thing,
Right.
not his whole thing, but one big thing in college was he didn't fumble. So we know they're trying to bring in players who don't have the history of these habits. Like they're trying to make an impact, but you can't really just people always talk about, oh, the Patriots are cutting bait with all these talented players. Like Rhamondre and Antonio are the kind of guys that are talented enough where it's like, yeah, if you cut bait, that would be kind of weird. Right. I don't really understand what you're doing. But they need to fix it, and if they don't, I think that they're in a position now where they're kind of gonna have to deal with it. Worst case scenario, maybe you have to sign somebody off the street. Terrell Jennings gets more.
That doesn't solve anything.
The roster is what it is. I don't it doesn't solve the problem. I'm just saying if you get
Michael Hayes,
you're like, I don't trust you.
In Foxborough.
Michael, that is also true. So I mean, I really think it's a player thing because once again, the defense played well. The offense is moving the football. It's just certain people making these critical mistakes. And I think next year, like in this new regime, if it does continue, then you make those decisions. But I don't know what you do at this point.
Well, we have to switch over to critical mistakes and talk about, Drake Maye, of course, he fumbled, 7:48 left in the game, tied at 14 with the Patriots driving. And they'd been moving the ball like crazy. Crazy stat, I just saw, I think, might have been Ben Volen put it out there. Patriots outgained the Steelers 349 to 101 yards over the final three quarters and somehow lost this game, which is stunning. But I'm going to turn bad into good here, okay? Because Drake Maye, throws you can't just an inexcusable interception, and I don't want to hear people saying it got tipped, it wasn't his fault. It got tipped because he threw it too flat. If he puts air under it and releases a touch higher, it doesn't get tipped at the line of scrimmage. Little loft on that, puts it in the back of the end zone, it's a touchdown. That's on him. It doesn't matter that it got tipped. It got tipped because he threw it too flat. And then the fumble, he's trying to do too much. Swallow that. I also don't give a shit because on a team that matters and a team that's trying to make the playoffs and a team where wins and losses are everything, these are the types of plays that you can't have from your quarterback and they would drive you insane. But on a team where you're trying to see, are they moving in the right direction? This is another week where the indications surrounding Drake Maye and his play and his ability and what he does out there are good. Like, these are good vibes for Maye. He didn't play a great game because he made too many mistakes to win the game. But you're feeling better and better and better about, hey, we're going to take our lumps along the way. But I like what I saw from Drake Maye. I thought he was terrific again on the move. His throws were accurate. Game management, a lot of the stuff he did, certainly far from perfect. But you're looking at some of the other second-year quarterbacks or younger quarterbacks around the league right now who you might have been like, well, geez, Bo Nix looked good. Penix looked good. Those guys suck right now. They're like, you got to feel
Penix
pretty
got benched.
Yeah. You guys might have been a mercy benching because they were down a ton at that point.
It was like a fourth quarter benching, but still they got smoked and they had to put in the backup.
Smoked by the Patriots' next opponent. That was supposed to be a gimme. We'll get into that later. You got to feel pretty good about it. You got to feel pretty good about Maye. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it kind of, rosy, through rose-colored glasses. I was not upset about the performance. I'm upset about the mistakes. But on the whole, I'm feeling good about Drake Maye after today. even though he's very much a huge reason why they lost.
I agree that one point late, I think he had like 13 straight completions.
13
like
straight.
You definitely saw there was a point
And
where
the
he
first
was
one's to
locked
pop.
in. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. But he was locked in, making good decisions, using his legs wisely. Again, I always have to look to the tape to make sure, but you definitely started to feel like, okay, it doesn't feel like Drake's going to be the one to make a mistake. Did I think every time they went out there that something bad was going to happen? Yes, I did. But I really was starting to feel like, okay, feels like Drake's at least getting them in some good positions. That drive towards the end, coming into this year, I was not very confident in Drake Maye when it came to end of half situations, but I thought he was making all the right decisions. Like there was a play where he almost got hit, got the ball out to Hunter Henry right as the rush got there. Like when you see Drake, it's more like, okay, you got to take some of these things out, but he looks like a professional quarterback. It's not a long-term concern that I have for him. So I would agree. I think it was a positive performance for him overall, but just with some really crushing mistakes that of course he'd like to have back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think obviously overall he had a solid day, responsible for 2 touchdowns, but the turnover things with him, it's been something that's been going on since last year, and it's something that you said he has to work it out of his game. Now, I don't think it's necessarily a long-term worry either with him, but I mean, you're right. He does have to protect the football on that drive when you're tied at 14. Like you just need to sit on it. You need to eat it. You can't try and do way too much, especially in this offense where that's kind of what it's predicated on. Don't try and do too much. Run the system, make your reads, make the plays, dink and dunk. And they had so many of those drives where they did go for 12, 13, 14 plays and get towards the end zone, and then mistakes hurt them in the end. So I think overall it was a good day, but the turnovers still irk me a little bit because I think he knows, I think the team knows, I think the offense wants to work those things out of his game, and yet they're still happening. So it's a little bit bothersome, but I also get that that's the kind of player he is, and he's going to want to go make plays, and he can, and he does have the ability to extend it and try and break the pocket and get 5 yards instead of getting sacked. Or like we saw Josh Allen do it last week, but we saw Drake Maye do it last year where, he kind of makes someone miss. He ends up seeing someone and he flips in the ball like he tried to do today.
Dude, it happened, literally happened 2 weeks ago. The exact same thing. It was an end of half situation, or that was a different situation. But he's trying to get up in the pocket, sees TreVeyon out of the side of his head, or out of the corner of his eye, and flips it to him. It was literally the same thing. And that's where, I'm going to ask Josh this week at some point. Yeah. How do you coach that? Where you have 1 week it works out for you and then another it doesn't. I don't know how that works necessarily, but that's why it's not crushing because he still does make a lot of these oh my God, wow plays because he has the instinct, but you have to pick your spots.
Yeah. And you mentioned the end of half situations. He had 2 solid ones today. He brought them down to the end zone and then threw the interception. And then at the end of the game, he did have them in position on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, whatever it was at the end. I didn't put that play on Drake Maye at all. I thought that was fully Pop Douglas. I'm sorry.
Could have been a better ball.
I know you said it could have been it was a little bit behind him, but still, he put it on him. He caught the ball. If you look at it in slow motion, the 2 defenders there, you can knife him first down. You live to see another down. It was a good end of game drive for Drake Maye there. We talked about it. We wanted them to go for 2 to not have this thing go to overtime, and it looked they were almost going to get there, and then it just fell apart in front of them. So, all in all, I'm still in on Drake Maye. I think he still had an overall a solid performance, but you got to cut the turnovers out because it clearly there was 5 of them today across the offense. It was detrimental to the game.
It was indeed, but again, I'll still put it in the plus column for Drake Maye today. After I wouldn't say concerned, but it was weird to see him so shaken in week 1. It's nice to see the flashes of what we saw that we liked about Drake Maye. Plus,
he was in command today again for a second week in a row. I thought he was in command of the offense.
He was dealing. He was definitely dealing after he kind of settled in there. Got to give your hat. Got to tip your hat to the defense, Taylor. Today and multiple. Look, I actually think the Patriots did make some adjustments personnel-wise, moving some people in and out that weren't really working out well. You had Austin with some problems. It was it Ellis also who got subbed out. They kind of went with some different looks. They're playing that big nickel cover situation as well. But individually, you're getting good performances out of people that you're counting on to be big-time performance for this team. Thank goodness Spillane had a bounce-back game because he was looking really rough after a couple of weeks. And Harold Landry is starting to look like not a fluke, like an actual, like something has turned around and he's back to closer to that guy who was a really disruptive pass rusher in his first 5-6 years in the league, as opposed to the guy who's we've seen a little bit of a decline. And, Eve Taylor, I know when you're analyzing the signing, it's a guy that you can scheme into getting some pass rush opportunities. He's been wrecking situations, and you get some good stuff from Chase on as well. There's some guys doing some stuff behind the scenes, there for that defense, that you do start to wonder, hey, when they do get Gonzo back, will the trickle-down effect of being able to cover a little bit better, play better man, and being able to overall just be closer to what you envision them being, could this unit turn itself back into a strength? Because after last week, I was pretty worried, and I thought, after those first couple of drives, the defense was outstanding, for almost all of this game.
I agree. I mean, the defensive front has been in my up column for 3 weeks in a row. The money that they have invested is paying off. Milton Williams is not just a great pass rusher. The dude's also wrecking shop as
game
a run
record
defender as well. Yeah, I think
incredible.
he leads all defensive tackles in run stop rate by ESPN. So he's been fantastic. Barmore continues. It feels like he's getting better each week. Not always consistently showing up as a pass rusher, although I thought he did last week. But as a run defender, you feel his presence there. And yeah, Harold Landry is just a very well-rounded player. He's not the most technically savvy when it comes to hand fighting and things like that, but he's got power and he's got a good speed rush, and he does a very good job mixing them up, especially because that was Troy Fautanu. Like, against these young offensive tackles, he's taken them to the woodshed, and I don't know why the Steelers didn't give more help his way, because he was absolutely tearing it up. K'Lavon Chaisson, when he's not getting silly penalties, I also think he plays really well. And that's the thing. It's frustrating because he's a good player.
Yeah.
Like, he's making an impact every week, but you got to cut the penalties down. And Spillane was someone I had a feeling was going to – also Kairos Tonga. He is one of the most efficient players in terms of, like, he doesn't play a ton, but you feel his presence as well whenever he's on the field. And Robert Spillane, after last week, they had the video of Mike Vrabel, talking to everybody is in the winning locker room, and Spillane was just like he was
not
pissed.
me. I didn't win today.
And knowing this was his former team, I just had a feeling he was going to be locked in and really have a much better game. But tackling machine like you'd expect. He got juked once, but honestly, that was a good move.
Right.
At some point, like, he is a linebacker, those things are going to happen. But there weren't egregious ones where you're seeing him throwing shoulders at guys. It's like, dude, you are not athletic enough to just be throwing shoulders at guys. So much better performance from Robert Spillane. Jack Gibbons stepping in for Christian Ellis, who early on, I don't know if this is exactly why, but Ellis had a running back dead to rights in the hole and bounced off him. I feel like that happens every single week now. And he got pulled for Jack Gibbons on early downs and potential run situations. And then Marte Mapu came in and some pass downs. I thought those guys were pretty solid there. Really, I think when Christian Gonzalez comes back, you think, yeah, this can be a legit, like, wagon, because a lot of the issues you talk about, like, they fixed the tackling thing for the most part. Right. It's kind of like the depth corners that aren't playing well. Alex Austin draws 2 penalties. One was, I think, Fugazi, but whatever, he got pulled, so clearly wasn't.
That was garbage.
Yeah, and then Marcus Jones, I mean, I don't want to give him crap. He was playing well most of the game, just got smoked by Calvin Austin on that play. But yeah, I think if you get a lockdown corner like Gonzo in this room or in this defense, then the pieces start coming together a little bit more. I think it makes some of the safeties look better. It makes potentially the linebackers look a little bit better. And this defensive front we know has been wrecking stuff, and that's where you hope Christian Gonzalez can reach another step, because you're going to have quarterbacks making tough throws. Like Aaron Rodgers, I had in my game notes that if they got enough pressure and hit him a few times, he was going to make a bad decision. And we literally saw it where Harold Landry won pretty fast, and I think he felt that pressure and threw directly to Robert Spillane.
And the defensive backfield, while the plays they got beat on weren't in the best situations. Obviously, we talked about the Calvin Austin touchdown, the Carlton Davis pass interference down the sideline to DK Metcalf, which was also a BS call. But
this crew, man,
it was the first. It was a tough day for the officials, but still 4 first half penalties for the defense, including the chase on one, a couple pass interference calls as well. But you look at the defensive backfield as a whole, it was the first time they didn't let up 300-plus passing yards, and it was only 165 or something to Aaron Rodgers. So they kept it in check. I'm assuming Christian Gonzalez comes back next week, I think, if all goes well. They worked him back into practice this week, so that just trickles down to the rest of the room. And you get the the depth pieces back, not having to play as much football. Spillane was great today. I thought that you mentioned it, the one where he kind of got beat on the inside by Jalen Warren. That's going to happen when you're a guy like Robert Spillane. Overall, 15 tackles, a great bounce back performance from him. And again, Milton Williams is just a stud. I can't get over how good he's been. And everyone kind of had the question, well, now that his usage is going to go up from going from Philly to now and having to play 80, 90% of snaps or what have you, how is he going to be impacted? And he's just gotten better. He's been outstanding. So a better performance today. Unfortunately, they just couldn't hold them at the end, and they end up going up 21-14 on that last drive, and that was kind of history.
We will see what happens if Christian Gonzalez would be introduced to Tep McMillan next week in a nice little matchup there.
That would be fun.
And Tep's been good
against the Carolina Panthers. He actually ended up statistically not that great. It was amazingly. I was thinking 3 for 48. We'll talk about the Panthers before we wrap heading into next week. That looked like a gimme. Even though I don't think the Patriots technically have any gimmies, but it looked like a game that they should absolutely put in the win column. We'll preview that quickly, guys. Leftover thoughts on today's ball game. Again, Patriots losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-14 at home. Other things we haven't touched upon that you think is worth a quick go around?
The aggressiveness overall, I really liked. They grabbed the ball first. They won the toss. They said, "Let's take the ball. We're going to go score." And they didn't. But they took the ball and they didn't score, did they? No, they didn't go up 7-0.
No,
sorry, they were down.
It was a very bad first possession.
Yes, it was. But I still.
A couple of turnover-worthy plays, and it was bad.
But I did like the aggressiveness. They ended up going 4 for 5 on fourth down. The last one they could have even got, as we talked about. So I liked the aggressive piece of this. The one thing I didn't like play calling wise was the 3 passes on the goal line at the end of the first half. I thought they could have at least tried to run the ball once to get the defense kind of off their off their scent, if you will. But I did like the aggressiveness. I think that was important, especially because the last couple weeks, there have been a couple times where they have surrendered and it didn't bode well for them. We saw it in first week one with that when I think they punted inside the 40-yard line or whatever it was. We thought they could have went for it, but they kicked the field goal. But at the end of the day, I did like the aggressiveness. I thought that was promising. I like when they rely on that kind of stuff to be able to say, you know what, we're backed up at our own 15-yard line, but we're down 14 points. We have a little bit of momentum here. Let's just go for it. They dial up the right play and they go get it. So I thought that was an up on the offense side of the football.
Yeah, I also like the aggressiveness. I didn't love how often they were tossing the ball on 4th and 1.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, you got away with it once. There was a speed option. It's like, oh my God, they're doing it again. And then Rhamondre made a little bit of magic, made some people miss when he probably should have been tackled behind the line of scrimmage. So I like the aggressiveness. Be a little bit more careful, please. Just not so many plays that are starting behind the line of scrimmage. I think Vrabel mentioned the reason they passed was because the Pittsburgh had brought on bigger bodies, said they liked their matchups. And honestly, on the guitar fake that Drake Maye did after he got the Steelers to get an encroachment penalty, Austin Hooper kind of liked the Hunter Henry play, blocked, and then was wide open in the flat. Drake just immediately had somebody pressuring in his face. So I have to go back and see if it was like, okay, you really should have run. You had to look there. I'm not sure. I'll take Vrabel's word for it for now. But yeah, I like the aggressiveness, just maybe some more downhill plays. But then again, you got Mike and one who, like Craig said, sometimes getting beaten inside. So I don't know how much necessarily trusted that. But it's cool to see that they trust their offense to execute. And again, that's the frustrating thing. It's like this is not an incompetent offense. No. They do execute. They just need to stop getting out of their own way.
Yeah, no doubt.
Heading into thoughts is, like I said, there wasn't a ton of layers to this game. Don't turn the damn football over is basically the moral of this one.
Andy Borregales 2 for 2 on extra points.
Yeah. There wasn't. I'd rather talk about how, I would have rather been talking about how Aaron Rodgers is washed and the Patriots won by 3 touchdowns, which they easily could have done. Rodgers finished today 16 to 23, 139 yards. He did make some big time throws, as Aaron Rodgers is wont to do. And it resulted in a couple of big touchdowns there. And that ended up
DK
being
touchdown was a dime. Oh my gosh. Dude, I was like, I'm not even mad.
Beautiful. A couple beautiful big time throws.
Vintage Aaron Rodgers like once every 2 or 3 weeks. It's just like, if this guy did this every day, he'd be the best quarterback of all time.
Yeah. But again, held Pittsburgh again, which doesn't have dynamic offense, pretty much in check for most of the afternoon after kind of a shaky start. Now, moving on to next week before we wrap it, guys, they are playing the Carolina Panthers, who again have not been playing great. And then they come out today and they absolutely put a beating on Atlanta, who has their own set of problems right now that they're dealing with. Maybe that's a one-off. Maybe it's an aberration. I don't really know. But just a quick look ahead to this game here as the Patriots try to figure out how to win in front of their home fans, taking on the Panthers at home a week from today. Guys, thoughts there?
Well, it's hard because I don't know exactly what happened today, but just knowing the roster, they got a big offensive line. Defensively, they're fast, they're physical, got some good cornerbacks there. And I know the receiver room is kind of cooked now because they don't have, I don't know who did well today.
Didn't play today.
Oh, so Leggett, it's really just Ted because Jalen Coker's on the reserve. That really hurt them. I think they have a pretty solid run game, but the defensive line is going to come up huge because if you're in Bryce Young's face-all game, that's going to be tougher for him to throw into some of his lanes, especially over the middle. Maybe you can create some turnover opportunities and capitalize on it. But it should absolutely be a winnable game, but I also can't say that they should win because this is the team that just turned the ball over 5 times.
Right. The Panthers are a fun team. They have talented players. You saw how Bryce Young closed out the end of last season. Played really well. This year hasn't been great through the first 2 weeks, but then they blow doors today against Atlanta. So it's a team that comes in hot, and it's a Patriots team who still can't figure out how to win at home. So you look at it, it's like, oh, great. You welcome in a Carolina team who's 1-2 and hasn't been great throughout the course of the season. Oh, this is a chance to finally beat someone in your own building. But that's what today was, as we know. They had an opportunity to win today. I don't want to keep going back to it because I know we're looking forward now, but it should be an interesting game. It should be a fun game. And like you said, it's one that is at least winnable. It's not one where it's one where when we went through the schedule before the season, this was an absolute W for this team. So, it should be one again, as long as they clean up the mistakes, which that's going to be the key this week, just like it was last week, was clean up the tackling. They cleaned up the tackling. Hopefully this week it's clean up the turnovers. They clean it up. They should be able to beat Carolina next week.
It's honestly kind of like last year where it was almost like a whack-a-mole thing where they actually would do something better. And then it's like, oh, no, there's a completely different problem that we have to fix. So it's at least encouraging to see that each week, like the glaring issue from that week before does improve, whether it's because of personnel, whether it's because of execution. That is a positive sign. But like, again, you need to be consistently disciplined. At the end of the day, if you're not that, I understand Vrabel doesn't care as much about the penalties as we might. And also they have just kind of gone up against two crews that are calling things very tightly and sometimes making shit up. So, the penalty thing is what it is, but the turnovers absolutely are unacceptable.
Yeah. So I'll leave you guys with this question. Because the expectations were a little bit different with this Patriots team, potentially being a playoff team, is it more or less frustrating? Take off your writers' hats and put on your, I like watching the Pats because I'm from
Sit back,
here and
relax,
I'm kind of a fan.
cross the legs a little bit.
Yeah, I'm having a slice of pizza and a beer and watching the Pats. Is it more or less frustrating than last year's team? Because there is some added expectation.
They're entertaining this year at least. So
Yeah.
I would say less. It's more just like stop doing that.
Yeah.
But they're fun to watch. Last year, man, it was like I hate to sound spoiled, but like I was not looking forward to coming in for games, especially home games. I was just like, oh God, they're gonna find another way to just embarrass themselves.
Last year was train wreck after train wreck after train wreck. This year it's like, oh, it's fun to come to the stadium. It's fun to come and get blitzed in the parking lot. This place was bumping before the game because it felt like Mike Vrabel's here. Julian Edelman's getting inducted. The red throwbacks are on. Like, yes, they lost, but it was still a fun game to watch, I think, overall. Sure, it was frustrating with the turnovers, but I think this year is far less frustrating because there's a lot more to look forward to. Last year, at least towards the end of the year, it felt like this thing's over. It's a wrap. Mayo's fired, what have you. So that was just a bummer where I feel like there's still enough love and sort of fan interest in the team where it's like, okay, we can get this done. We saw the ability to be able to win a game like this today. We just haven't. Let's fix the mistakes and move on. So I still think there's going to be enough sort of buzz around the team where, it keeps going forward that way.
Fair enough. Olds like me, I take it back. One last question. Olds like me love the Patriots throwback uniforms. You guys get to make the decision. Final word. Mike and Taylor, make the switch permanent or not?
Yes. Oh my God. I love the alternates or the throwbacks. Yes. I would love for these to be the regular thing.
Who doesn't?
So
you don't. It's Mike.
No,
okay.
I
Mike's
do.
the guy.
No.
Of course.
I do. There was a time where I was iffy on them. I was like, everyone freaks out about them. I think it was the period of time where they took them away because they weren't allowed to do the alternate helmet or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and everyone's like, bring them back. I was like, who cares? They're whatever. Now that they're back, they're awesome. I love them. If you make them permanent, though, they lose their specialness, right? If they're there every single week, I don't think that you're going to like them as much. When they come out every, 2 or 3 times a season, it makes that game feel extra special. Everyone talks about them. If they're here all the time, it doesn't really matter.
But no one complains about the Raiders uniforms, the classics, and everyone's like, hey, they look good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I don't need them to be special. I just want to look at them each week instead of
Exactly.
the other ones. That's all.
I think there's a way to modernize them while also keeping the throwback classic. Like keeping the red, but maybe keep the Pat Patriot logo or the Flying Elvis logo still. I don't know.
I've also thought about how much would have to change around here because like the stadium is blue.
Yeah.
So like, would you have to completely rebrand and be like a red team? I've thought about that. I honestly think that it would be much more complicated than that. But also, I'm not a business person. I just think like, if they wore red all the time, it'd look kind of funky in a very blue stadium. But
yeah. All right. Well, we've covered everything we could possibly cover. Mike and Taylor will have more. They're going to do a film breakdown, heading into tomorrow. I know Taylor's going to be looking deep into Drake Maye's stuff and his film and dissecting his game. plays he made, plays he would like to have back. And the coverage train rolls on here on Patriots CLNS. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to the audio version of this podcast wherever you get your audio podcasts if you want to. If you do, please rate and review. We think that's great. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, chat with us, comment, like it. All of this stuff is great for us. We always do appreciate you guys hanging out with us and being really, honestly, pretty civil in the chat and having fun and talking about stuff and sharing your opinions. I think it's great. So we thank you guys for being with us here. I always forget Bailey, do I have an outro for this show? I can never remember. Maybe
there should be something in there that you can outro with.
No, we don't. We're just going to say goodbye. Make sure you follow Mike Kadlick over at SI for all of his written work, and Taylor Kyles, of course, on CLNSmedia.com as he writes up his takes on what happened in this game. And again, we got a ton more Patriots coverage coming probably throughout the rest of the day. And of course, tomorrow and throughout the week, Patriots fall to 1-2, losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-14, a game in which they turned the ball over 5 freaking times.
Can't have it.
Can't have it. We will see you.
Yes, a lot of that. A whole lot of that.
Which gets you beat. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Mike. And we will see you all later. Take care.
Bye.